taken the time to rank all 4 candidates. Let's say you're my old grandmother who walks in there and has voted in Idaho her entire life and says, you know what? I always have to vote for one. In every Idaho election that I've been in, I had to vote for one. Now we have to vote for all of them, or when you get past, if you just vote for one and say, I don't like any of the other candidates, I'm not voting for those other guys because I don't want to elect them. I want to elect this person. You cannot do that. Because if it goes to the second round, then there's an algorithm that kicks in. And this is very similar to what Nancy Pelosi said. You got to pass the bill to know what's in it. Because there are 2 competing algorithms out there. And in Oakland, when they had an election, one of the 2 groups fought against each other. And it is true because I've got documentation. And the people who didn't vote for the round 2, round 3, round 4, or whatever, their votes are not counted in the successive rounds. So if you think you're going to want to be ruled by the majority, that's the end. There will be no more majority. It's a manufactured majority. It's not a true majority. In ranked choice voting, 61% of the elections did not result in a majority candidate getting 51% of the votes. They say it's a majority, but it's only a majority of what's left. It's not really a good system at all. If you think these people up here are going to raise your taxes, you want one of them to raise your taxes? I saw it. If one of these people are going to raise your taxes, don't you want to know that they got the majority of the vote to have the authority to do that? In one San Francisco election, the person who won the election was elected by 0.47% of the vote. And that's in an article in the New York Times.
Thank you, Roy. Appreciate it. Luke.
Well, I'll just start with some facts, right? Because it's really important. This is a big issue on your ballot 27 days from now. And please, if you vote yes or no, don't go into the voting booth not knowing some of the basic facts. So this idea that there are 19 candidates that you have to rank, false. The system we're proposing, it says they're right there in the first sentence. Top 4. Top 4. Okay? You will never be asked to rank more than 4. That's a fact. Does anyone here believe that's not true?
Because that's only in the general election, it's not in the primary.
Okay, listen. In the primary, you will not be asked to rank candidates. Read the initiative. In the primary, you will not be asked to rank candidates. It's only in the general election that you'll be asked to rank candidates. In the primary, you just pick your favorite candidate, and that's it. Read the initiative for yourself. You're only asked to pick one candidate in the primary. It's only when you go to the general election that you have the opportunity to rank candidates, and there will only be 4. Fact. And please, let me know if you don't agree with that, because that is just a basic fact. This is called a top 4 primary, where the top 4 candidates go on to the general, and you rank only 4 candidates. Okay, that's fact number 1. Fact number 2, the idea that you're forced to rank more than 1, no. You're free, and it's spelled out very clearly in the initiative. You're free to only rank 1 if you want to. Now, there's a claim that if you don't rank more than 1, that your vote is somehow going to get thrown out. And we could dig deeper into that. But the claim is that if you don't rank more than 1 and your favorite candidate comes in last place, your vote gets thrown out. We could talk about exactly what that claim is, but what you need to know is there is a major federal court case where there was a lawsuit filed and the court carefully examined that claim and they rejected it. The court, the federal court, looked closely at that claim and rejected it and said it's false. If there are over 60 communities in America that have ranked choice voting, including over a dozen cities in Utah that recently implemented ranked choice voting, they elect their mayor in Salt Lake City with ranked choice voting. If it were true that election officials were just throwing ballots in the trash if someone didn't rank more than one candidate, you think it would still be in effect? It would have been ruled unconstitutional decades ago, but it hasn't been. It's been ruled constitutional, so that's simply false, and we could address more of the issues later. There's not two different algorithms. Truthfully, there's not even one algorithm. There's a simple calculation process that basically uses third grade math to determine the outcome. And we could get more into the details, but I'm just about out of time.
Okay. Yes, you have 1 minute to
Okay.
rebuttal, and
So
then
I'm reading
I
out of
will
the-
allow
I'm reading out of
Ryan
the
to do
initiative.
so as well.
Section 34-908, section 25 of the initiative, which by the way
Can
came
you
from
stand up?
came
and
from
speak?
Fairvote, Idaho. Number 4, in elections conducted by instant runoff voting, the voter shall mark the voter's ballot with a mark sufficient to show the voter's intent in the place provided that indicates the specific ranking the voter wishes to assign to each candidate. The voter may assign ranking to each candidate listed on the ballot and one write-in candidate per race. However, they're not required to rank the candidate. However, what they don't tell you again is nobody's throwing out the ballots. We took the top 4. Let's stick with the general election. And so if we don't get 50% on the first round, none of those 4 candidates get 50%, they all get less than 50%, then we have to go to round 2. And if you didn't mark your ballot with 1, 2, 3, or 4, when we move to successive rounds, those ballots are considered exhausted and they get allocated to the other candidates, and the one candidates who didn't get enough, mathematically who can't win, those votes are going to be assigned to them. You don't vote again. You don't vote again. They just automatically assign it. And I've read this. I read the stuff on the algorithms. There's 2 groups that have algorithms and that provide the services for ranked choice voting.
Thank you.
Do I get
Luke,
to respond?
you do.
Now, there's this big claim that there's some kind of mysterious algorithm that determines the outcome, and sometimes it gets a little strange, like one legislator in Boise called it a logarithm, which is kind of strange. But what is an algorithm in this case? And are there 2 mysterious different ones, and we don't know which? No. It's a simple calculation that any of us could do right here and now. And here's all that it is. The candidate who comes in last place out of the 4, they get eliminated from the race. If that was your first choice, that candidate who came in last and got eliminated, if that was your first choice, your vote goes to your second choice. That's the whole thing. Does that sound like a mysterious, complicated algorithm to anyone here? The candidate comes in last place gets eliminated. I'll repeat it. Candidate comes in last place gets eliminated. If that was your first choice, your vote goes to your second choice. And then all that happens after that is that same process repeats. The third place candidate gets eliminated. If that was your favorite candidate, your candidate goes to your next choice.
And what happens if you didn't mark all 4 candidates and you didn't rank them?
Is he out of time?
Oh, I'm out of time because it was a short.
Okay.
So if you didn't mark all 4 candidates, and there's not another candidate for your vote to go to, then your candidate is just counted in that, or your vote is just counted in that earlier round because you did not choose to support one of the most competitive candidates in the race, which what the court has said is the exact same as what happens now under our current system if all you do is vote for a third party, for example. You're just choosing not to vote for one of the more competitive candidates in the race. No one says that you were disenfranchised because you decided to vote for a libertarian, right? But everyone admits that candidate's probably not going to win. But that's what the federal court, you can read the court case, it's called Dudum versus Arnst in 2011. They spelled it all out and showed that it was perfectly constitutional.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Roy, for providing the perspective, but we do want to hear from our candidates here on the perspective. So if you're elected and Proposition 1 passes, the question on the table is, will you support the constitutional will of Idahoans? Will you support the decision that is being made, if it passes. So Vickie, I'm gonna start with you.
If I understand the question, we're talking about Proposition 1. If
Correct.
it passes, absolutely I will support it. I want every eligible voter to have a vote.
Okay, Kyle?
This is a tough question because, you know, as a representative, our job is to represent our constituents. At the end of the day, that's the job, right? The state legislator, who is elected by the citizens of the state, has already outlawed. They said it's illegal, we're not gonna do it, or they didn't say it was illegal, they just banned it. And then you get citizen initiative, and they are important. I believe in citizen initiatives. It's a constitutional right, we should all have it. At the end of the day, in my personal opinion, I think a lot of people were lied to when they signed their petition. They didn't know anything about ranked choice voting. I've talked to hundreds of people at multiple fairs about Proposition 1, and every single one of them said, I had no idea ranked choice voting was a part of it. So I don't think it was a true initiative. I think if you're gonna have a true initiative by the citizens, it should be a black and white, plain as day initiative. It shouldn't be vote yes on open primaries, but we're not gonna tell you it also includes ranked choice voting. And to me, that's a lie. They lied to people, and that's not responsible, and it's not responsible for government to support that lie. So I would vote to overturn it if it did pass.
Okay, Bill?
I'd support it.
Okay, Cindy?
Same answer as Kyle.
Okay. Other perspectives, this was specific for those individuals as our write-in, thank you very much for doing so. But Kaylee and Charlie, if you have a perspective, definitely appreciate that.
Do you want to go, Charlie?
Yeah, we gotta have Charlie go first.
So first, right off, I'm the only one here at this panel that's already voted it against ranked choice voting. I'm on record. We already passed a bill that said it was unlawful in the state of Idaho. Let me, as simple as I can make it for you. So I was a coach for a long time. So if you want to talk ranked choice voting, to me that's just outright un-American. If you want to talk open primary, everybody in this country has a choice when it comes to your primary elections. If you choose by your own choice to not join a party, you are not being disenfranchised. If you choose to stay home on the primary and don't vote, you are not being disenfranchised. You are making a choice and have to live with the consequences of what somebody else did. As a football coach, to me it's like Grangeville's gonna play Orofino. So the people in Grangeville get to decide who the starting team is in Orofino. So when they come down to play, they're not playing against Orofino's best players because we're getting to choose in the primary what team Orofino brings down here. And to me, that's the simplest way that I can put it. That if you aren't willing to sign on the dotted line, commit to a party in the primary, that is your choice. That's nobody disenfranchising you. That is a decision you made and you have to live with it.
Thank you.
Can I rebut one thing?
I would like to have Kaylee respond, and then if there is some difference of opinion, and Cindy, then I will go to you, please.
I want to address something, and I'm not singling you out, Charlie, at all.
Okay, I'm used to it.
I hear a lot of times Republican and Democrat, this sports metaphor. I heard it when this first got brought up at the beginning of summer. Well, you wouldn't go and play for the opposing team. But this isn't sports. You know, the Republicans and Democrats weren't supposed to oppose each other and compete against each other. They were meant to work together and balance each other out. So federal government didn't get too big. We also didn't collapse and get too small. Also, in the NFL, people switch teams all the time because the important part is the game. We all have the same focus, the same priorities that we are successful. I worry sometimes that we are always so surrounded by our own party that we forget how mixed the opinion and experience and perspective is of the other people that live with us. I can tell you I've traveled the state talking specifically to conservative Republican voters, and each one I talk to defines being a Republican or being conservative differently. We all have our different experiences, our different definitions, our different priorities. So when I look at the will of the people, I think it's unbelievably important that we make sure each person has as close access to their government and the political process as possible. And I think the more that we can kind of come together instead of seeing it as as opposition, the better our policy will be, and the better accountable we'll be able to hold each other.
Thank you. Opportunity for rebuttal, please. Cindy, beginning with you.
Yeah, I just want to publicly state that I have already voted. I just wanted to correct Representative Shepherd. I have already voted against ranked choice voting. The entire legislature voted against it. So I will be voting, when we vote again, against it again, no matter what the people say, because we've already taken a stand.
Thank you very much.
Do we get to rebut what anything?
And I think let's
And I know that's
have
what you all
our,
want to hear some
our,
people say.
candidates speak, and then so that you can hear their information, Luke and Roy, and then respond accordingly, if you're okay with that.
There was a claim that we all lied by putting this on the ballot. So definitely want to respond to that.
Okay, peace on that score, and we'll have the opportunity. Kyle, if you have a statement.
I do. I just wanted to add, in my opinion, Proposition 1 is a lazy attempt for other people to have more involvement. You have ample opportunity. If you want to be an independent voter, if you want to be a libertarian, a conservative party, whatever you want to be, your job as that member of that group is to start grassroots movements and to put candidates forward that you think can win.
I'm gonna ask, when you're speaking, please stand up and project your voice. We don't have microphones in here. We just wanna make sure the folks in the back
I think just as
can
a
hear.
courtesy, what she was trying to maybe express is that when people are chattering here, we can't hear. So
Okay,
we're just
yes.
hoping when the candidates are speaking, the crowd can be quiet.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that. So, we do have cards over there, so if you would like to, rather than vocal your comments, write them down. Oprah said, if you have something you wanna say, or write it down, you can at least tear it up if you don't wanna say anything. But write it down, maybe, we have cards in the back. But we do wanna make sure that everyone hears the responses, from our candidates and our representatives here. So, thank you. Kyle, apologies.
It's okay.
Please continue.
When I moved to Idaho in 2010, I was an unaffiliated voter. I'd never registered for a party in my life. I voted in every election, but I never affiliated with a party. Then when they changed the law in 2012, I believe, to go to a closed primary system, I affiliated with the Republican Party. Once I affiliated with them, I put in the work. I ran for office to be a precinct committeeman for the Republican Party in Nostrant County. I've gone to the state conventions. I've helped pass our platform. Thank you. But I got involved because I wanted to support my beliefs and my values. If I wanted to be a libertarian, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd still be putting in the same amount of work to put forth a candidate that stands a chance to win. That's the whole point of democracy. If you want to have a party, have your party, but you have to put the work in. Doing this disenfranchises me as a Republican, because now you're just taking away my ability to pick the candidate for my party and allowing somebody else that doesn't want to do the work to come in and pick the candidate instead of me. And that's not fair to us. We put in the work, we do our job. You guys should have to do your job. That's the way I see it. Ranked choice voting is just a way to circumvent parties and say, well, we don't feel like we have a say. You do have a say. If you want to show up to vote, you can register as a Republican that day, cast your ballot in the primary, unaffiliate, and you're done. Democrats do it all the time. It's called crossover voting.
You're done.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Any other additional comments?
I probably don't need to talk.
Okay, thank
Is
you,
there time
I
to-
appreciate
is there time
it.
to
So
respond?
now we have the opportunity for our speakers for Proposition 1 to respond to the candidates' comments. Luke, we'll start with you.
Now, earlier it was said that somehow everyone supporting Proposition 1 is of the left, and then Kyle just mentioned that somehow Republicans are being disenfranchised through Proposition 1. All of this is just clearly false and has no basis in the facts. Former Governor Butch Otter has endorsed Proposition 1. Former Republican Speaker of the House, Bruce Newcomb, has endorsed Proposition 1. He was actually one of the people who started it. Former Republican Attorney General, former Republican Lieutenant Governor, former Republican legislators all across the state, over 100 of them, have endorsed Proposition 1. So I know people will just say, oh, those are all fake Republicans. These are people who spent their whole lives. They had dignified careers in office as Republicans. And they endorse this. Now, the idea that we lied to put this on the ballot and therefore it's not a legitimate citizens initiative, what everyone needs to know, and Kyle, you mentioned that, that maybe all people saw was open primaries initiative, but they didn't see ranked choice. Every single petition page has, in 20-point font, all caps, requires a ranked choice voting election system. Every single petition page in 20-point font, all caps. And then, not just the petition page, but the first page of the petition itself, again, repeats it twice, right there on the front of the petition. I will tell you, I personally visited almost every community in the entire state and spoke publicly about ranked choice voting. And we're doing the same thing now. So the idea that we lied, the Attorney General just now made that same argument in court. He sued us and tried to knock this initiative off the ballot. He failed. The court rejected his lawsuit. The court looked at all the evidence that claimed that we lied, and the court actually said, oh, thanks for trying to provide us with that evidence. The evidence actually shows they were telling the truth. So go back and read the court decision. Do your own research. Determine whether you think that we were truthful, and I think you'll find that it's been very clear all along exactly what this initiative is.
Thank you, Luke. Roy, please, and project.
Yes. Listen, I think I've looked at all of this stuff. I've looked at the Maine election. Maine was the first state to pass ranked choice voting. I read the Maine Policy Institute. Alaska was the second one. What Kyle didn't tell you, which is I think is the most important, I don't think he's lied. I think there's a lot of stuff they've left out. As an example, did he tell you that Alaska has it on the ballot to repeal that in this election? If it was such a good deal for Alaska, why are they going to repeal it? And I think it will pass. And then there was a bunch of other states that have outlawed it and said that it won't pass. Many of them who tried it and it didn't work and they got rid of it. Yes?
If it's so great, how come you're only introducing this in red states, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, all the liberal states, you don't introduce this? Why?
And Massachusetts just got rid of it. So the point is,
That was to me,
I
right?
think there's a lot of stuff that we haven't been told. There's a lot of things that you don't know about. I don't think they've lied. I've looked at all the material, like in the initiative and in the voter pamphlet. They say, oh, you don't have to vote for everybody. And that's true, you don't. That's not legally required. But if you don't, and you only vote for one person, in the subsequent rounds, your ballot will be exhausted, it will not count, and you will not count in the final outcome. So look, I got a closing statement, so that's
Okay,
it.
yes, you do have an opportunity to close, but hopefully that at least gave a perspective for you, sir, in the back. Luke, you have the opportunity to respond to the question. 30 seconds, please.
And then I have more time later to close, is that right?
No, I don't negotiate.
Oh, no, later.
The same amount of time.
No, but is this my last statement?
Oh, no, it is.
Okay.
not. I beg your pardon, sir.
Okay, so the answer is easy. It's just not true that this is only being proposed in red states. It's not true. Right now, they're proposing the same reform in Colorado, a blue state. They're proposing the same reform in Nevada, a purple state. They're proposing the same reform in one of the bluest communities in America, Washington, D.C. And what you need to know is that in those blue places where they're proposing it, guess who's against it? It's the Democratic Party establishment. Because it's usually the party establishment in power that doesn't want to let those tax-paying independent voters have a voice. Because the party establishment prefers to keep the power in their own hands. That's not the way our system's supposed to work. Every tax-paying citizen should be able to vote freely in every election.
Everybody can vote in the United States. That's a lot.
So we'll have another opportunity for the audience to express. If there are questions, we do have cards in the back, and please send those forward. I got one just a little bit ago. So we'll do one more comment based on the cards that we received on Proposition 1, and then we will move back to candidate questions specifically.
I just want to clarify something
Yeah,
real quick. Just real quick.
I-
It's more of an apology than clarification. If I did say lie, I apologize. I didn't mean that. I meant misrepresent is more where I was going. Lie was harsh. If I did say lie, I meant misrepresent.
Peace, pause.
Accepted.
Oh, awesome. Yes, we're all like coming together here. Isn't that awesome? But before the fight ends, we still have one question. I just want to make sure that we get addressed that came from one of our participants here. And hopefully I'm expressing this well. So with Proposition 1, so with the open count for or against Proposition 1, how does the lower count keep moving forward through the rankings? Does this mean the person who won first place can actually lose?
I can answer that.
So who would like to, so Luke, please, by all means.
So I think what's being referred to is the count happens in rounds. So in the very first round, all that's looked at is the first choices on the ballots. And just in that first round, maybe one candidate gets 48%, another candidate gets, 47%. That candidate who actually started out in second can win the election. And a lot of people say, how could that can't possibly be fair. Well, think about this. Have you ever heard of a runoff election? A runoff election. We just had one down in Eagle for the mayor's race. Idaho has runoff elections for mayor's races. And what they do in a runoff election is there might be 6 candidates in a race, and they have the vote. And if the first place candidate who comes in first place gets less than 50%, they're not the winner then and there. Because there's a value in the community of saying, we want to actually make sure that the winner is someone who's shown they have up over 50% and has support from the broader community, right? So what they do is they say, we're not going to declare that candidate the winner. We're going to do a runoff election where we're going to eliminate all of the candidates except for just the top 2. And we're going to have the top 2 candidates face off against each other again 30 days from now, right? So they do that all over the country, all over the world. They did that in Eagle just a couple months ago. And guess what? The candidate who came in second place in the very first election went on and faced off against the first place candidate in the runoff. And the candidate who came in second place originally won the runoff. Because it turned out a bunch of those other candidates who had originally been in the race, the voters for those candidates actually preferred that second place candidate to the one who came in first. So the candidate who started in second in Eagle ended up winning the race. And that's exactly what happens in ranked choice voting. So there's a lot of ideas going around, like people say, Sarah Palin started out in second, Sarah Palin started out in first, but then she still lost the race. Number one, that's false. She actually started off in second, and then she finished in second, and she lost. But number two, even if she had started in first, once the process ran itself out, if she lost fair and square.
Thank you. All right, Roy?
Well, I think there's a couple of distinctions that you don't really talk about. First of all, we don't do runoff elections for a lot of these elections that we're now going to have to do ranked choice voting. And in addition to that, the individual voters get a chance in a runoff election to vote again. In a ranked choice voting scenario, they get 1 day in the ballot. One day they're going to go to that election, they're going to mark that ballot, and they're going to either mark 1, 2, 3, or 4. If they don't mark all 4, and the successive rounds keep going without their permission, without their knowledge, without them ever voting again, the one who's mathematically going to be eliminated, those votes get automatically assigned through the fact that there is no algorithm, but I'm told that there is. And so the voter gets to vote in a runoff election, and the voters decide. In this ranked choice voting scenario, they never vote except one time. And after that, the algorithms or the mathematics or whatever you want to call it takes over, and that's a sign without any of these voters knowing. So you go into the ballot, into the voting booth, you vote for a candidate, you say, that's my person, I want that one to be elected, and you vote for them as number one. But maybe because not other people see it your way, they're the lowest vote total getter in the election. So then in the next round, without you voting again, without your knowledge, without your permission, those votes that person got are going to be assigned to one of the other candidates. In a runoff election, you get to vote again.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We have one more question before we move back to additional ones. We have a write-in. So I'd like to point out the current assessor wrote a letter to the editor on October 2nd, fundamentally expressing concerns about accuracy and cost. Please, I'm sorry, sir. I may have to ask
point
you
out
to.
that the current Idaho County assessor wrote a very objective, thorough letter to the editor last week. And I'd submit that if anyone knows the voting system, works within the system, knows what it requires to accurately count votes, that would be a good source of information. And I won't completely characterize the letter, but it seemed fairly obvious to me that she was concerned both about the voting infrastructure to count the votes, because it's a whole different software system, which I'm not going to claim to understand. She was concerned about accuracy, and she was concerned about costs to implement the new system. The letter's there, October 2nd, in the Free Press, by the current Idaho County assessor.
Thank you. If you would like to respond, you have 30 seconds to respond. So, Luke, you're standing up.
I think you mean the county clerk.
Yeah, thank you.
County clerk.
Appreciate that.
I'll just start by saying there are many county clerks around Idaho who are full-on supporters of Proposition 1. You should know that. The issue of cost, there's an ongoing debate about it. The Secretary of State wrote a letter a couple months ago saying that there could be a one-time cost of as much as 25 to 40 million if all of the vote tallying machines have to be replaced. Some really good analysis that's been done since then has actually concluded that the voting machines don't need to be replaced. And we have some really good research that we can share with anyone here on our website that was actually done by a former county clerk in Utah who oversaw the implementation of ranked choice voting. And he's concluded that Idaho, with its current equipment, can conduct ranked choice voting elections with just minor software upgrades that are very fiscally conservative to implement.
Thank you. Roy, please.
Well, obviously there's a lot of disagreement about that. In Alaska, which was written by this gentleman who is in the heading the recall effort, he said that his average election before ranked choice voting costs the citizens of Alaska $2.5 million. After ranked choice voting, $11 million. Right here in the book.
Thank you. We're going to switch gears for a moment, so we'll pause here. I definitely love the debate and the perspective. But let's just talk a little bit about giving back to the community.